Hello everybody, I am Sky Cave. If you don't know who I am, I'm a one-man design studio that works with bands, and recently I got to team up with Dance Gavin Dance to design this. So I want to talk about what it was like working with the band, how they got into contact with me, also share some concepts that nobody has seen, including the band, and also just talk about the general art process. So we were calling this an ad mat, which is short for ad materials, but it's basically just the branding for their tour. So I had been working with Dance Gavin Dance for about a year at this point, maybe a little bit longer. The band had found me, ironically, when I was working on this fan drawing that had like 80 characters and a shit ton of references to their music and lyrics and art. Somebody that was following the project online, who I now consider a dear friend, she actually printed the drawing and then shared it with the band at her meet and greet, and the band loved it. They reached out to me, and since then we've been working together mostly on merch and things like that. But this project here was the first time that I did anything for them that was in the realm of branding. But the whole thing caught me off guard. I actually woke up to an email from them asking if I wanted to do it. Obviously, I said yes, so then I asked them what kind of design they were looking for. And all they told me was that they wanted it to be a nod to their album Pantheon, and they wanted it to reflect my previous work with like all the characters and things like that. So I started designing concepts, and the first thing that came to mind was the Robot with Human Hair Rebirth. That song in itself is loved by the whole community, like everyone in the Facebook groups and the subreddit. I remember seeing all these polls where people were like voting on their favorite songs, and that song always got to like the top 3. So pretty much every single concept was focused on the robot. And there were a lot of concepts that I didn't get to share with the band, not because of secrecy or anything like that, but just for the sake of time. I wanted to give them something that was really, really strong and just have them focus purely on that one concept. The first concept was the robot in this kind of like test tube, like fucking Mewtwo from Pokemon, just being healed or reborn or whatever. There were going to be computers everywhere and just a bunch of tech and shit, and the plan was for it to be inside of the Pantheon. The second concept was the robot being abducted by the Pantheon ship, and I wanted it to be badass. Like, he's levitating in the air, you only see his silhouette, he's holding this badass katana, which I needed to keep the katana, by the way, you'll see that in the final. He's holding this katana, and he's being lit up by this tractor beam or whatever you call it, and I don't know if the Pantheon is good or not, but some sort of ominous showdown is about to happen. And then the last scrapped concept was going to be the robot in space on a hoverboard, kind of flying towards you, the viewer, and then behind him he's getting chased by like 1,000 fucking space cows from Space Cow Initiation Ritual. I was thinking almost Back to the Future Marty McFly vibes on the hoverboard, but then I started thinking about what if he was riding something else other than a hoverboard, and then that's when the final concept started to kind of take shape. There's a song on the album called The Conqueror Worm, which I don't know like what the Conqueror Worm is, but if I get the opportunity to do the official design, then I want to do that. So I started designing this thing, and I was thinking Dune mixed with the Alaskan bullworm from SpongeBob, and landed on this kind of cute, but if this thing wanted to fuck you up, it could design. So I started doing more designing with it and kind of just replaced the hoverboard from that last concept with the Conqueror Worm. But I don't know, I wasn't feeling it. Something about the composition didn't feel strong enough to me. So I started just messing with different compositions, and the one that I landed on and the one that I shared with the band was this concept of you looking through the bushes of this weird alien forest, and sitting in the center is the sleepiest Conqueror Worm you've ever seen, and on top of him is the robot with human hair holding this badass katana and this weird artifact that's projecting a hologram of the Pantheon. And for whatever reason, the robot is kind of pondering how to get to the Pantheon. Like, they're on this journey, it's at night, he's fucking thinking, dude, he's like deep in thought. And then also in the background, you have all these weird alien creatures just being like, yo, what is this fucking giant worm coiling itself around this forest? And what is this robot doing here? Why is he lighting up the forest? We're trying to sleep. So I shared that with the band, and almost immediately they were like, yo, we love it, let's go. So then I asked for all the details, like who was going to be on the lineup, what are the tour dates, all of those things that I would need to design the typography as well. But fortunately, they said that they were going to handle all of the type for me, so I didn't have to worry about that. I could just focus on the art. But what that means is for the entire time that I was designing this, I did not know who the lineup was. And I didn't find out the lineup until the day it got released. And dude, My mind was fucking blown when I saw Fall of Troy on there. I'm a musician too, and Fall of Troy is just such a huge inspiration to me as a guitarist and a songwriter. Seeing them on that tour, seeing them on the art that I made was the craziest experience for me. Just so grateful, dude. So fucking grateful. So basically, I start with the sketch, and then the sketch gets approved, and then I work on line art, then color, and then I do all of the shading and lighting and post-production. For this one, initially, we were going to make everything way more pink. So the concept I shared with them in terms of color was to reflect this Midnight at McGuffey's post, where you had this pink neon sign, and it was kind of lighting up the area around it. I wanted the Pantheon hologram to be like that neon sign and to light up the whole forest and for it to be pink. So further down the line, we decided that we wanted to tweak the colors to reflect the album art of Pantheon more. Deeper blues, more yellows, stronger blacks, just more contrast, more clarity, removing that kind of haziness that the pink version has, and then also tweaking the color of the horns, so instead of having them blacked out, change them so they take on the same lighting as the rest of the environment. And then the last thing that I tweaked was the sizing and coloring of the Pantheon hologram. So I think the theme here was that as time went on, we wanted to focus on Pantheon more in general. And then in the end, you have Pantheon as the literal and symbolic focal point of the design. So yeah, I am just so stoked to see everything on tour. Dance Gavin Dance and I have a lot more in store for you, and I can't wait for everything to get revealed. I genuinely believe that you guys are going to like some of the shit that we've come up with. There is one design in general that I just cannot believe is like going to be a real thing. It's fucking insane. I'm so excited. But I started as a fan of the band. I'm still a fan of the band. I sit in the subreddit. I sit in the Facebook group. So I always have you guys in mind whenever I'm designing. Anyway, if you'd like to work with me, you can reach out on skycavestudios.com. There you can also buy posters or prints, digital downloads. You can see my work. You can also connect with me on social media there. But before you go, wait. I know that everybody asks the same thing over and over again. I get it, it's fucking tiring, but if you could please do me a huge favor and just let me know what you think of this video. You can do that by liking, leaving a comment, subscribing, literally anything. All of it just really helps me know if this kind of video is worth making. And if you think it is, I would be happy to make more. But anyway, thank you so much for your support. Seriously, it means the world to me. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and take care.